What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in for the launch of Destiny 2 Witch Queen. And as the expansion goes live, we've got a few things to talk about, including a few issues highlighted by Bungie Help, some of which will affect gameplay, including access to mods on the Season Pass, issues with weapon perks and things to know as we go into the Witch Queen expansion. On top of that though, Bungie have posted a new press kit for the expansion that gives us a pretty juicy look at some of the new content, but we'll cover that section in the second half of the video with spoiler warnings where necessary, so if you want the relevant launch updates, we'll cover those first, and as always I hope you guys find the video useful. Starting out initially for PS4 players, Bungie Help did unfortunately tweet that due to an unforeseen issue, PS4 required content is not yet available for download, and players using the PS4 version of Destiny 2 can download these files at 9 AM PST tomorrow when update 4001 becomes available, and the required space for that is a total of 72 gigs. So bear in mind, specifically for PS4, the bulk of the content update isn't due to actually release until the time that Witch Queen launches. If that affects you, definitely stay posted on Bungie Help on Twitter, but otherwise, all other platforms should have access to that update by now. And then there are some known issues going into launch, and Bungie Help say, before Witch Queen and Season of the Risen kicks off, we want players to be aware of certain issues and information. They say the following information may include minor spoilers for item and activity names, but there isn't anything major, and they say season passes will be applied to the first set of characters that sign in. If you plan to cross-save but will use other characters later, it's recommended to set up cross-save before logging in. So bear that in mind, but they also say top issues being investigated include the recommended power level for the PsyOps Battlegrounds playlist does not display on activity launch, so bear in mind the recommended power for the playlist is 1500. Additionally though, the Overload Auto Rifle and SMG artifact mods do not successfully disrupt the health regeneration of Overload champions after a stun, so if you're using either of those artifact mods, bear in mind the health regen element isn't working correctly. On top of this, opening the character screen on Xbox consoles with a full inventory may result in a large frame rate drop. And then for glaives, they say the Grave Robber perk on the Enigma Glaive is currently disabled and cannot be activated, but the perk will be re-enabled in an upcoming hotfix. But also for glaives, they say glaive melee kills do not count toward kill tracker progress and certain melee triggered perks. So if you're experiencing any weirdness with glaive melees, either not triggering perks as they should, or not counting towards kill trackers or potentially even objectives, that's a known issue that they've discovered in the patch. And they also say certain ghost tracking mods do not display destination materials or chest locations when in the throne world. However, they don't specify which ones don't work. And they also say enemies with the volatile debuff may not count for bounty progress when defeated using area of effect damage. And then that certain player buffs and debuffs may be missing associated icons. So a few things to bear in mind. Hopefully none of those issues will be particularly worrisome and are just worth bearing in mind. Hopefully otherwise the servers will behave themselves reasonably well. And now before we get onto some of the new press release stuff for Witch Queen, today Bungie did post a new trailer for Season of the Risen, so as always let's check that trailer out in full.
I don't know how the Hive came into possession of the light. My core will find out. But in the meantime...
You want us to hit them?
I need us to hit them. Hard. Guardian, you'll be our boots on the ground. Savathun's Risen Hive have been tearing through our Guardian forces.
Avenge them and track down the leaders responsible. You've got backup coming, Guardian.
They're weakened, my scions will step in. Be ready to enter the mindscape.
And while you're down there, burn this place to the ground.
Really cool trailer there, and it's awesome to see that we're going to be fighting alongside the Cabal. But also we heard Lord Saladin's voice during some of the new activity gameplay, so that's pretty exciting. But on top of that, it looks like we've spotted a new exotic weapon. So we see the hunter here dodge and then seemingly charge up the weapon before firing a projectile that fires a kind of lightning-y cursed thrall explosion along the floor. And specifically in relation to Season of the Risen, in one of the press releases today, Bungie said, for the season exotic quest, investigate psionic anti-Keitel propaganda emanating from a bunker on Mars and unlock the exotic grenade launcher, Dead Messenger. This wave-frame breach grenade launcher generates a fan of 3 waves of impact and can rotate elemental damage types on reload, similar to other exotics like Hardlight and Borealis. So excitingly, that is going to be an exotic quest for the season, which is pretty cool, and also looks like it's going to take place in a Mars bubble. So give us your thoughts about that down below. And then we see some more gameplay where a player is actually using a relic version of the season's artifact, the Spear. And it's going to be really cool to see how we utilize that in combat. So give us your thoughts about the trailer down below. But now to move away from that stuff, we've got a few more previews for new content in Witch Queen and Season of the Risen. Spoiler alerts, as always, are necessary. If you want to go in pretty blind, it's definitely a good time to switch off the video. First thing to touch on though, a very quick preview for some new titles. These were actually shared via Bungie rewards in the medallion pins, but we have the icon for the Risen seal, and so presumably Risen is the title, and that'll be for the Season 16 content, and then for Witch Queen, we have the Gumshoe seal. So it'll be cool to start working on unlocking those. Now though, we get a huge drop of new press kit material for Witch Queen and Season of the Risen, and this reveals some pretty juicy content details, as well as a first look at some of the activity content, and so, with it being early launch, a spoiler alert is necessary as always, because we are going to touch on some new strike content, activities, gear, and more. And so coming from the official launch press kit for Witch Queen, initially there are some details on new strikes, and one of those strikes is called Birthplace Vial, which is actually going to take place in some of the areas where we've seen Scorn in the trailers. So there is this really neat kind of darkness architecture with some really cool cavernous internal sections. Safe to say some of the floors look a bit treacherous. And while Savathun's castle is kind of a palace, a lot of this architecture is more akin to a sort of fortress. And this strike is bound to give us more information about this Scorn's interest in the throne world. And there is a second new strike called the Lightblade. And this one does appear to take place in the depths of Savathun's palace. There appear to be some really cool moving platforms, and we'll be hopping on top of tomb ships and things like that, which is really cool. And here we're also going to see some really cool statues and architecture. And as the name of the strike may suggest, very much the opposite to the Darkblade in the Taken King. We can see the Lightblade looks very similar, but of course is wielding the light. I'm sure we're bound to have a few terrifying moments in that boss room. We also see a little bit more of Mars from the press kit, so there's a new space that's opened up on Mars. We know that this will be a base that Ikora uses, and we have the bounty board that we've spotted numerous times in different trailers and teasers. Also looks like there'll be a postmaster and a vault there, as well as spaces to receive broadcasts, so a little bit like the Helm and how Helm was used for some of the seasonal content. There's some really cool views from this area on Mars as well, and we can see that Ikora is actually up on one of the cliffs. And then we have the crafting space, the Enclave, which is accessed once again through some interesting darkness-styled architecture. We can also see some NPC guardians that a few folks had spoken about in Witch Queen previews, and these guys will be guarding the Enclave. And of course, we've seen images of the crafting table inside. Also teased in the press kit is an image for a new exotic quest. We're not certain on the reward or anything like that, but we can see a hive totem glowing up, which is pretty cool, and some Scorn enemies nearby. So this is one of the spaces that we'll visit during an exotic quest in Witch Queen. There are plenty of juicy images right here of all of the gear. So we see some of the new Witch Queen armor sets, and ones where the Guardian is holding the Osteostriga, as well as a screen of Throne World weapons, plus the Witch Queen exotic ghost shell and a sparrow there. But the next set of images is for the Wellspring activity. This is the new 6-player destination activity for Throne World, and it very much looks like a kind of PvE horde mode. There are a couple of different screenshots of this kind of Golgoroth-style ogre that we'll fight, as well as a section with a modified Fallen Walker surrounded by Scorn. And we spot some cool new gear here as well, so there are some Season of the Chosen weapons that you'll see, as well as the Season of the Chosen armor pieces. I think a lot of that gear looks really cool, and it almost looks like we'll be sort of ascending a tower throughout the activity. There are some cool outside sections where you get a view over the throne world. Also in the press kit though, we have images for new lost sectors, so one that appears to be in the swampier area, another which looks like it's actually inside of Savathun's palace. We can see a third entrance right here, so looks like we'll have 3 lost sectors on the destination. Then there are some cool character images, so a new one, but one which makes sense nonetheless, and it looks like Mara Sov will be involved. There are a couple of cool images right here, and we also get some images of the leaders meeting in Zavala's office. And one that'll be interesting, of course, will be Anna Bray. So a few more juicy teasers and a look at some more of the Witch Queen content. Another cool thing that Bungie put together is a Vanguard brief, and there is a mission definition as well as mission purpose, which is to effectively exterminate Savathun's access to the light, but also to remove Savathun and her Lucent Brood as a threat, and to determine how Savathun was able to gain and use the light. And there are tips for fireteam cohesion, camaraderie, and formation, which are pretty cool, as well as combat readiness, and all Guardians must ensure their loadout is cleaned, functioning, and best suited for their mission. It's highly recommended that Guardians undertake any means possible to find or create the best weapons to use in confrontation of Savathun, which of course is a hint to weapon crafting. And there are some more of the images that are provided on Ikora's bounty board on Mars as well, which are counted as some of the surveillance materials. So just another neat part of the press kit right there. And as always, there'll be plenty of stuff for me to keep you posted on regarding Witch Queen, guys. So if you're new to the channel, be sure to get subscribed and turn on notifications so I can keep you up to date. If you've enjoyed the video today though, a rating down below really does help us out. Also, let us know what you're most excited for going into Witch Queen this week. But otherwise, guys, be sure to enjoy the expansion, and I will catch you all very soon.